Takaya Shikirua is not a normal girl. To the world, she is a top-tier idol and the literal princess of Japan's most powerful corporate empire. But to me, she is a monster. I have spent my entire life living as her shadow, existing only to be the dirt beneath her expensive shoes.
My name is Suzuki Kazuma. I am the textbook definition of a loner, gloomy, friendless, and completely invisible to everyone except her.
For years, I endured her entertainment. To Rua, my suffering was a game, and watching me squirm was her favorite pastime.
She would laugh in my face, telling me to throw a fit or keep begging, knowing I had nowhere else to go.
Honestly, I can't stand the thought that you're my childhood friend, she'd say, her eyes full of nothing but pure, unfiltered contempt.
Everyone thinks she's an angel, but they don't see the sadistic smile she saves just for me when the cameras are off.
I was her toy. A broken thing she kept around just to remind herself how much better she was than everyone else. But even a shadow has its limits. After a lifetime of being crushed under her heel, something finally changed inside of me.
In that one silent moment, I felt something snap. The pathetic loner they all knew died, and something much more dangerous took his place.
I never asked to be special like Rua. All I ever wanted was to experience the simple things, like having real friends and a girlfriend like a normal person.
Once, I was brave enough to tell Rua how I actually felt, hoping for a shred of empathy from my oldest companion.
Her response was a jagged laugh. "Are you stupid?" she sneered. "You're just a gloomy loser, know your place."
She leaned in to make sure I understood the hierarchy. My only worth, according to her, was being the person lucky enough to be her childhood friend.
Those words have been on repeat since we were kids. They didn't feel like advice. They weighed on me like a suffocating curse.
Yet, even with her voice in my head, I couldn't stop longing for a normal life as I entered my first year of high school.
One evening, a message popped up that caught me off guard. It was about Hiragi Ayaka, a flashy gal from my school.
I had never even spoken to someone like her. She was in a completely different social league, which made me wonder why me?
Then Ru's messages started flooding in, mocking my desires. Kazu, didn't you say you wanted a girlfriend? The best way is to join an elite group like ours. She was dangling a carrot in front of me, pretending to help me take that first step. Like a fool, I actually thought this was my chance to finally change.
I was desperate to change my life, so I put in every ounce of effort I could muster. I spent my savings on new clothes, and even gathered the courage to visit a professional hairdresser for the first time.
As I stood before the door, my heart was racing. I truly believed that stepping through it would be the first step toward becoming a brand new version of myself.
But the moment I opened that door, my dreams were instantly shattered by a wall of deafening laughter. Rua wasn't alone. She was surrounded by a crowd of elite students, all pointing and mocking me.
Wait, he actually cut his hair? That's so funny. "Lol," one guy shouted. The room was filled with insults, calling my efforts gross and pathetic.
They mocked my new jacket and said I smelled like I had just crawled out of a hair salon. To them, my genuine attempt to improve was just a hilarious comedy sketch.
Rua led the charge, her face twisted in a mocking grin. Wait. Don't laugh, guys. He really tried his best. Ha ha ha, she squealed, relishing every second of my humiliation.
In that cold moment, the truth finally hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't a chance to grow. It was a total setup, designed from the start to crush me.
I stood there frozen, unable to move as Rua bounced over to me with that same sadistic energy. "What's wrong, Kazu? Why are you just standing there?" she asked, her eyes gleaming with malice.
She leaned in close, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Come on, cry already. I even bet 10,000 yen that you'd end up bawling your eyes out."
I looked at the girl I had known since childhood and felt a hollow silence grow within me. "Just tell me one thing," I whispered, my voice trembling. Did I do something wrong?
I looked at my own reflection and asked a single hollow question. What did I do to deserve this?
Rua didn't even hesitate. With a twisted smirk, she made it clear that to her, there was no reason needed. It was just the natural order.
"Because you are my slave," she shouted, cackling as she commanded me to struggle and put on a show for her amusement.
She leaned in one last time, her eyes wide with madness as she spat out those familiar words
about how she couldn't stand being my childhood friend.
In that instant, it felt like a heavy chain finally shattered inside my mind. The invisible bond that had kept me tied to her for years was gone.
I looked her right in the eye, my face a mask of total indifference. Yeah. Same here, I replied, my voice as cold as ice.
Before the entire room of elites, I delivered the words she never expected to hear. Let's cut ties, Rua.
The room went silent. Rua's face contorted in a mix of shock and rage, unable to process that a loser like me was actually talking back.
She started screaming, claiming she had every right to hate me, but that I didn't get to hate her. Her ego was finally beginning to crack.
I just watched her throw a tantrum and realized the world had truly gone mad. How could a brat like this be a top idol?
I turned my back on the girl who had spent years destroying me and walked away without a single regret. It's settled then, I said, as I left that toxic life behind for good.
Behind me, the room fell into a stunned silence. Rua stood frozen, her eyes wide with shock as she realized her toy was no longer playing her game.
Her elite friends quickly tried to downplay the situation, mocking me for acting cool. But the tension in the room told a completely different story.
Then they noticed it, the massive crack running through the center of the heavy marble table where I had stood.
A wave of disbelief washed over them as they argued it was impossible for a normal person to break a table with their bare hands. While they scrambled for excuses, Rua remained silent, her face shadowed by a growing, uncontrollable rage.
Finally, she erupted into a scream, vowing she would never forgive me for being the one to break our friendship.
As I stepped out into the night, I didn't feel the weight of her curse anymore. For the first time, the world actually looked like it was glowing.
I realized how insane it was to let a beast wearing human skin control my soul for so long. I'd much rather face high school alone than spend another second as her slave.
That's right. From now on, the old Kazuma is gone. A new life is beginning, and this time, I'm the one in control.
For years, I believed that being Rua's shadow was the only destiny I had left. I accepted the darkness because I didn't think I was allowed to stand in the light.
But as I walked away, the crushing weight that had pressed down on my chest for a decade simply evaporated. The curse was finally broken.
I stood in the middle of the city and realized the truth. I am finally free. I don't have to live for her amusement or die by her contempt anymore. While I was rediscovering my soul, the corporate giant Takayashi Kitaizo, Rua's grandfather, was busy managing his empire. To him, Rua was the perfect successor.
Rua didn't waste any time running to him to complain about her broken toy. She burst into his office, acting like the victim of a terrible crime.
Kazu was being mean to me today. He actually said he's breaking off our friendship. She wailed, expecting her grandfather to crush me for my insolence.
Her cousin, Takayashi Kikura, watched the tantrum with a cold, analytical eye. Unlike the others, she knew exactly how toxic Rua's friendship really was.
Kikura didn't buy the act for a second. She calmly asked if Rua had said something nasty to drive me away, knowing that even a slave has a breaking point.
Rua's face turned bright red as she tried to defend her actions. That's not true. I only said stuff like you're my slave and it sucks being your childhood friend.
She stood there, completely oblivious to her own monstrosity, honestly believing that those words were all she had done. Her delusion was deeper than I ever imagined.
Even the head of the empire, Takayashi Kitaizo, couldn't ignore the truth. He admitted it was only natural for Kazuma to be mad after everything Rua put him through.
Rua immediately panicked, trying to dismiss her years of psychological torture as just teasing him a teensy bit.
She found it ridiculous that Kazuma would suddenly want a normal life with real friends and a girlfriend the moment he started high school.
To Rua, the idea that Kazuma would want to get close to anyone else, especially another girl, was completely unbelievable.
Her ego was so massive that she genuinely believed Kazuma didn't need anyone else because he already had her.
In her warped mind, being a top idol gave her a free pass to treat her only friend like a piece of garbage whenever she felt like it.
She claimed to be the only person in the entire world who truly understood him, using that bond to justify her cruelty.
Finally, she screamed the truth she had been hiding behind her insults. She didn't just want to control him.
she claimed to love him.
Her grandfather, ever the doting relative, immediately shifted the blame back to Kazuma to soothe her tantrum.
Kikura suggested that if Rua actually wanted to fix the relationship, she should be the one to apologize, but Rua's pride wouldn't let her even consider it.
Rua's cousin, Kikura, isn't just a bystander. She was actually assigned to be my mentor. She knows better than anyone that the gloomy loner persona was just a mask I wore to survive.
Even after everything, Rua is still delusional enough to demand an apology. She honestly expects me to crawl back, confess my love, and kiss her just to restore her precious ego.
Kikura can only watch with a pitying smile, realizing that Rua has no idea what kind of monster she just let off his leash.
The truth is much deeper than a childhood friendship. The head of the Taikai group, Takayashiki Taizo, has already chosen me to be Rua's husband and the future of his empire.
He knows that my talent is one of a kind. Even a master like Kikura admits she has never seen anyone with the raw potential I've been hiding for a decade.
Ever since elementary school, I purposely scored average grades just to fit in. All of it, the mediocre tests, the quiet behavior, was part of my training to stay in Rua's shadow.
If I ever stopped holding back, my true abilities wouldn't just shake the school, they would shake the entire world. I was so popular with girls that the family had to transfer students out just to keep them away from me.
Taiza views me as the only worthy candidate to take over the Teikai group. He's been molding me into a leader behind the scenes, using Rua as the excuse to keep me close.
But the plan has a massive flaw. Now that I've cut ties with Rua, I have absolutely no reason to suppress my true self anymore.
Whether it's academics, athletics, or romance, the balance of power is about to shift. The world is about to see what happens when the perfect shadow decides to step into the light.
The very next morning, I arrived at school to find that Rua's reach extended far beyond our private lives.
My desk had been moved, and a mocking sign was taped to it, announcing to the entire class that my social standing had been reset to 0.
The whispers started immediately, with my classmates laughing about the dumbass who was brave or stupid enough to go against Princess Rua.
I looked at the chaos and realized the truth I had tried to ignore. My childhood friend isn't just a spoiled heiress. She is the worst kind of human being.
In a place like this, a normal student would have two options: crawl back and fix the desk, or run to the faculty for help. But those options aren't for me, because this isn't a normal school. This is Teikai Academy. Teikai is a specialized S-class institution designed with one mission: to recruit and train the world's absolute top-tier talent.
Here, the traditional rules of society don't apply. The upper-rank elites with exceptional talent hold all the power.
The lower-rank commoners are treated as nothing more than background noise, meant to serve those who excel in academics, sports, or the arts.
Rua thinks she can use this system to crush me, but she's forgotten one thing. I am the one person in this academy who has been suppressing an S-class talent for a decade. I pushed open the heavy wooden door to find a place that most students, and even some teachers, don't even know exists: the underground library. As a regular at the main library, a senior from the committee had let me in on this secret spot, and it was exactly the quiet refuge I needed.
I've always wanted to just live a normal life, but after going against Rua, I knew that making friends or finding a girlfriend was officially impossible.
If that's the case, then I'll just live quietly on my own, far away from the toxic reach of the princess.
But this is where the real story begins. A story of a boy seeking an ordinary life while being pulled into the orbit of extraordinary girls.
I expected to find an empty room, but as I stepped inside, I found myself face to face with a sight that shattered my hopes for a peaceful high school experience.
There, in the middle of the hidden library, was a girl in the middle of changing, her shock mirroring my own as our worlds collided in the most not-so-peaceful way possible.
Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Rua was still playing the role of the innocent idol, humming to herself and wondering how soon I would come crawling back to her in tears.
She has no idea that the slave she tried to crush is already moving on, finding a new world filled with people who actually see the man behind the shadow.
The world sees Ruaheime as a perfect idol with millions of subscribers, but in this hidden sanctuary, her influence means nothing. My true life starts now.
Ruaheime is a master of maintaining her public image. On her YouTube channel, she acts like a sweet, relatable girl who is just too shy to even talk to boys.
She uses her platform to manipulate public opinion,
complaining about buzzkills who ruin the vibe just to ensure her millions of fans stay firmly on her side.
While Rua was busy playing the victim for her loyal subjects, I was busy making my own way. I stepped into the underground library, a place so hidden that most of the school doesn't even know it exists.
But I wasn't alone. Standing there was a girl named Amane Minato. Like Rua, she's a professional, a brand new voice actress who was just announced as Rua's new partner for a high-profile idol unit.
The encounter was far from peaceful. A mind was in the middle of changing when I walked in, and the look of sheer embarrassment on her face made it clear that my plans for a quiet, solitary life were already over.
As we both stumbled through awkward apologies, I realized that Amane was also using this secret spot as a refuge from the pressures of the academy.
Little does she know I'm not just another lower-ranked student. Rua's family has been training me in secret for a decade, molding me to be the future head of the Teikai group.
My average grades were a calculated lie. My mentor, Kikura, knows that if I ever stopped holding back, my true abilities in academics, athletics, and martial arts would shake the entire world.
Rua still thinks she can win me back with a simple apology and a kiss. But she has no idea that the slave she tried to control is actually her grandfather's chosen successor.
In this hidden library, surrounded by extraordinary girls like Amane, my real life is finally beginning. The world sees me as a loner, but the shadow is about to become the most powerful man in Japan.
Standing in that hidden library, I looked at the girl in front of me and realized that my dream of a quiet life was dead on arrival.
This secret spot wasn't a sanctuary anymore. It was the starting line for a brand new set of problems that would test everything I've learned.
But as I watched her, I realized something important. For the first time in 10 years, I wasn't looking at the world through the lens of Rua's shadow.
The shadow was finally free to move on his own, and the power that had been suppressed for a decade was beginning to pulse beneath the surface.
Rua and her elite friends think they've discarded a useless toy, but they have no idea that they've actually unleashed their own destruction.
At Teikai Academy, talent is everything, and I am the only one holding the ultimate trump card that can rewrite the entire hierarchy.
Whether it's the upper-ranked students or the staff who bow to Rua's family, they are all about to learn that the lower-rank loser was a monster in disguise.
I don't need a girlfriend or a group of fake friends anymore. I have a goal that is far more satisfying than any high school romance.
I am going to take everything the Takayashiki family built and make it mine, proving that the most dangerous person in the room is the one who was never noticed.
The shadow has finally stepped into the light, and this time, the world is the one that's going to squirm.
The girl in the library looked at me with eyes full of confusion, not realizing that she was the first person to see the real me in years. I had spent so long pretending to be a nobody that I had almost forgotten what it felt like to stand tall.
But the chains Rua placed on me were made of paper, and I had finally decided to set them on fire.
Every insult she threw, every moment of humiliation she engineered, was just fuel for the fire that was now burning inside my soul.
I realized that the peace I wanted wasn't something I could find by hiding. It was something I had to take by force.
The hierarchy of this academy is built on the illusion of talent. But I am the only one who knows what true power looks like.
Rua Jaime can keep her millions of subscribers and her fake smiles. I'm going after the one thing she can't manipulate, the truth.
From this day forward, I am no longer Suzuki Kazuma the loner. I am the man who will bring this entire corrupt system to its knees.
Let them laugh, let them mock, and let them think they've won. It only makes the coming revelation that much sweeter.
My name is Suzuki Kazuma, and this is the story of how the world's most pathetic shadow became its greatest king.
I stood in the silence of that hidden library, looking at the girl who had just witnessed the first crack in my armor.
She didn't know that my average existence was a masterpiece of deception, maintained for a decade just to keep Rua satisfied.
Every mediocre test score, and every hour spent as an invisible loner, was a payment I made for a piece that never actually existed.
Rua's grandfather, the head of the Teikai group, had been watching me all along, waiting for the moment the shadow would finally strike.
He saw what Rua was too blinded by her own ego to notice, that I was the only one capable of leading his empire.
While Rua was busy being the world's most adored idol, I was being forged in the dark into something far more formidable.
The elite students of this academy think their inherited status makes them untouchable, but they are about to face a commoner
who can crush them with ease.
I had decided to stop holding back, and I could already feel the world beginning to tilt in my direction.
The underground library was no longer just a place to hide. It was the throne room from which I would reclaim my life.
Rua thinks she's the protagonist of this story, but she's about to find out that she was always just a supporting character in mine.
Standing in the quiet of that hidden library, I felt the last lingering threads of my old life finally dissolve.
For 10 years, I played the role of the invisible victim. But that mask was never meant to be permanent.
Rua and her elite circle believe they are the ones who define value in this academy, but they are playing a game they've already lost.
They saw a lower-rank student who was easy to humiliate, never realizing they were looking at the future architect of their downfall.
My grandfather-in-law, Taizo, didn't choose me because I was a good companion for Rua. He chose me because he saw a predator hiding in the grass.
He knew that the only way to protect the Teikai Empire was to place it in the hands of someone who truly understands the darkness.
While the other students are busy chasing social status and temporary popularity, I am preparing to take control of everything they hold dear.
The girl in front of me is just the first witness to a change that will soon sweep through the entire academy like a storm.
I looked at my reflection in the library glass and didn't see a loner. I saw a man who was finally ready to stop pretending.
Rua thinks she's safe at the top of the world, but she's about to find out how quickly things fall apart when the shadow decides to stop following.
I stood there, watching the girl in the library try to process the fact that I hadn't looked away, even for a second.
The old Kazuma would have apologized, bowed his head, and vanished back into the hallway like a ghost.
But that boy was buried under the weight of 1,000 insults, and he wasn't coming back to save Rua from the consequences of her actions.
The shadow had finally gained a mind of its own, and the first thing it decided to do was stop caring about the rules of the elite.
While the rest of the school was busy worshipping Ruaheim, I was busy calculating how long it would take to dismantle her world.
It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about taking the throne that was already promised to me by the head of the empire.
Oroa thinks her millions of fans are a shield, but they are just an audience waiting for a new star to take center stage.
I looked at the hidden books surrounding me and realized that knowledge and power are only useful if you're brave enough to use them.
The Taikai Academy was designed to find the best of the best, and they finally found someone they couldn't control. I am the shadow that was forgotten, the loser who was mocked, and the successor who was finally ready to claim his crown.
The silence in the underground library was heavy, but for the first time in my life, it didn't feel like a weight. It felt like an opportunity.
I looked at the girl standing there and realized she was just the first of many who would soon see the mask fall away.
Rua is currently sitting in a classroom, surrounded by fans and feeling untouchable, completely unaware that her empire is built on a foundation of sand.
She thinks she owns my past, my present, and my future. But she's about to find out that I've already moved beyond her reach.
My grandfather-in-law, Taizo, is a man who values results above all else, and I am the only one who can deliver the future he envisions.
The loner they all despised was a creation designed to keep the peace. But that peace has been broken by their own arrogance.
I am no longer interested in being Rua's shadow or the Academy's punchline. I am interested in total control.
Every day I spent pretending to be weak was a day I spent learning their vulnerabilities. And now, it's time to use that knowledge.
The world thinks it knows who Suzuki Kazuma is, but they are about to meet a man who has been waiting 10 years to show his true face.
The game has officially changed, and this time, I'm the one holding all the winning cards.
I could feel the adrenaline beginning to fade, replaced by a cold, calculating clarity that I hadn't felt in years.
For too long, I let Rua believe she was the one pulling the strings, but I was the one who allowed the puppet show to continue.
The Teikai Group isn't just a company, it's a weapon. And Taizo has spent a decade sharpening me to be the one who wields it.
Every student in this academy is a potential asset or a potential obstacle, and I've already finished mapping out exactly where they stand.
Rua's Princess Act is about to hit a reality she isn't prepared for. One where her childhood friend doesn't exist to absorb her malice.
I looked at the girl in the library and realized that the extraordinary girls of this school are just as trapped as I was, just in different cages.
But unlike them, I have the key. And I have no intention of letting anyone else dictate the terms of my freedom.
The hierarchy of Teikai Academy is built on the pride of the elite. And pride is the easiest thing in the world to break. Tomorrow, when I walk through those school gates, I won't be looking for a place to hide. I'll be looking for the first piece of the empire I'm going to take.
My name is Suzuki Kazuma, and the world is about to find out that the shadow was the most dangerous thing in the room all along.